At first glance, this looks like a peaceful sunset on the Thames. A huge sailing ship is being pulled by a small steam tug. The water is calm, the sky is glowing, and nothing dramatic seems to be happening. But the longer you look, the stranger it becomes. Because this is not just a ship moving across the river. This is a funeral procession. This pale ship is the HMS Temeraire, one of the legendary British warships that fought at the Battle of Trafalgar. But here, it is no longer going into battle. It is being dragged to the place where it will be dismantled, piece by piece. And this is where the mystery begins. Because Turner did not paint this moment exactly as it happened. He changed the ship. He changed the atmosphere. He may even have changed the direction of the sunset. In other words, this painting is not a simple historical record. It is a beautiful lie. The full title of the painting is The Fighting Temeraire Tugged to Her Last Berth to be Broken Up 1838. And that title tells us something important. We are not looking at a victory. We are looking at an ending. The great warship is helpless now. It has no sails open, no crew visible, no flags of glory. It is being pulled by a squat, dark steam tug, a machine from a new age. The old world is beautiful, but powerless. The new world is ugly, but strong. Look closely at the tug. It is almost brutal in its simplicity. It does not have the elegance of the Temeraire. It does not have the romance of sails, masts, or naval glory. It burns coal, throws smoke into the air, and churns the water with mechanical force. And yet this little tug controls the scene. That is the uncomfortable truth Turner places in front of us. History does not always move forward with beauty. Sometimes it moves forward with smoke, noise, and machines. Now return to the Temeraire itself. The masts rise into the sky like thin bones. The ship is still majestic, but it also feels empty. Its body remains, but its life is gone. This is one of Turner's most powerful choices. He does not show the ship as ruined, dirty, or broken. He makes it luminous, almost sacred, as if the Temeraire is already becoming a ghost. To understand why this mattered so much, we need to go back to 1805, to the Battle of Trafalgar. The Temeraire fought alongside Nelson's HMS Victory during one of the most famous naval battles in British history. It became associated with courage, empire, and national pride. For Britain, this was not just a ship. It was part of a heroic story the country told about itself. But more than 30 years later, that heroic object had become old timber. The wars were over. Naval technology was changing. Great sailing ships that once looked invincible were becoming obsolete. And Turner turns that historical moment into a visual timeline. On the left, the age of sail. In the center, the age of steam. On the right, the setting sun. Everything in the painting moves toward disappearance. In 1838, the real Temeraire was towed from Sheerness toward Rotherhithe, where it would be broken up. But by then, the ship probably did not look like Turner's version. Much of its useful equipment had already been removed. Its proud naval identity had been stripped away. So Turner restores what reality had taken from it. He gives the Temeraire back its masts. He gives it grace. He gives it dignity. And by doing that, he tells us that this painting is not about what the ship looked like in a technical sense. It is about what the ship meant. That is why the painting feels more like memory than journalism. The Temeraire does not sit heavily in the water. It almost floats in light. Its reflection is soft, blurred, and unstable. Turner makes the ship look as if it is already half separated from the real world. The tug belongs to matter. The Temeraire belongs to memory. And then there is the smoke. The tug's dark plume rises into the sky and drifts back toward the masts of the old ship. It is one of the most poetic details in the painting. Steam does not merely pull the Temeraire physically. It enters the same space. It stains the air around it. The future is not waiting politely in the distance. It has already arrived. To us, a steam tug might look old-fashioned. But in Turner's time, steam power was the future. It changed rivers, factories, cities, war, travel, and even the rhythm of daily life. And Turner was fascinated by this change. He was not simply a painter of pretty sunsets. He painted storms, fires, shipwrecks, railways, smoke, and speed. He was obsessed with moments when nature, technology, and human ambition collide. Now look at the sunset. It is not just background. It is the emotional center of the painting. The sun sits low over the horizon, burning in orange, gold, red, and pale yellow. It feels enormous, even though it is physically small. This sunset gives the whole scene the feeling of a last breath. The day is ending. The ship is ending. An age is ending. There are no crowds here, no sailors standing with bowed heads, no flags lowered in ceremony, no dramatic storm. Turner gives the ship something larger than a human funeral. He gives it the sky. The sunset becomes the witness, but there is another tiny detail that changes the mood: the crescent moon in the upper left. It is easy to miss. The eye naturally goes to the ship, the tug, and the sunset. But the moon matters. The sun is setting on the right. A new moon appears on the left. One world disappears, and another begins. That is why the painting is not only sad, it is also about transition. The Temeraire is dying, but time continues. The old heroic age is fading, but another age is rising. Turner does not let us choose a simple emotion. He makes us admire the past and fear the future at the same time. Turner painted the Fighting Temeraire in 1839, when he was already one of the most important painters in Britain. By this point, he had spent decades exploring light, atmosphere, sea, storm, and catastrophe. But this painting feels unusually personal. Turner was also aging. He too belonged to an earlier world. He had watched Britain transform around him, from sail to steam, from old naval glory to industrial power. So when he painted the Temeraire, he may also have been painting the feeling of becoming outdated. In the distance, other ships fade into the haze. Their masts are visible but faint. They are still present, but they no longer dominate the world. This background is quiet, but it deepens the whole painting. The Temeraire is not the only ship disappearing. It stands for an entire class of objects, skills, memories, and values that modern life is beginning to leave behind. And in the lower right, there is a dark buoy floating in the water. It is small but visually heavy. It balances the tug and adds a strange note of finality. It feels almost like a marker, a sign that the river has rules, routes, and destinations. And the Temeraire's destination is already decided. This is what makes Turner's painting so powerful. Nothing violent is happening, but everything is irreversible. The ship is not exploding. It is not sinking. It is not being attacked. It is simply being taken away. And sometimes that is the most painful kind of ending. There is another strange issue: the sunset itself. Scholars have often pointed out that the geography of the actual towing journey does not perfectly match the glowing sunset Turner gives us. If we treat the painting like a map, something feels wrong. But Turner was not painting a map. He was painting meaning. The sun had to be there because the painting needed an ending large enough for the ship. In real life, the dismantling of an old ship is practical. Wood is reused. Metal is removed. Space is cleared. But Turner transforms that practical event into something almost cosmic. A warship becomes a ghost. A tug becomes the future. A sunset becomes history closing its eyes. When the painting was shown at the Royal Academy, Turner connected it with lines adapted from Thomas Campbell's patriotic poem Ye Mariners of England. The words helped viewers understand that this was not just about an old ship. It was about the memory of naval power, battle, and national pride. But in the painting itself, the Temeraire no longer carries that pride openly. There is no proud battle flag flying from the old ship. The Temeraire is no longer acting as a warship. It no longer belongs to the world of heroic action. Meanwhile, the tug has its own small flag. Not glorious, not legendary, but active. The past has memory. The future has movement. So what is this painting really saying? The most common interpretation is that the Fighting Temeraire is an elegy, a farewell to the age of sail. Under this reading, the painting mourns the loss of a more noble, heroic, and beautiful world. The Temeraire is the past. The tug is industrial modernity. And the sunset is the end of an era. But there is another way to see it. Maybe Turner is not simply condemning the steam tug. Maybe he is fascinated by it. The tug is dark, smoky, and unattractive, but it is alive with force. It moves, it pulls, it changes the world. Turner may be mourning the old ship while also recognizing the power of what replaces it. That is what makes the painting more complex than simple nostalgia. In Turner's other works, steam and modern technology often appear as terrifying, beautiful, and unstoppable. He understood that the modern world was not just destroying old forms. It was creating new sensations: speed, blur, smoke, uncertainty. So the Fighting Temeraire may not be a painting about good versus evil. It may be a painting about change itself. Even the color tells that story. The left side is cooler, paler, more ghostly. The right side burns with warmth and disappearance. The tug sits between them, like a black hinge connecting two worlds. Turner builds the entire painting as a passage, not a frozen scene, but a moment of crossing. The most painful part is that the Temeraire cannot move without the tug. The old ship is still majestic, but it needs the machine to carry it to its end. That relationship is almost humiliating, but it is also honest. Every age is eventually carried away by the next. That is why this painting still moves people today. We may not live in the age of sail, and most of us have never seen a warship broken up on the Thames, but we understand the feeling. We know what it means to watch something once powerful become unnecessary. A technology, a tradition, a city, a career, even a version of ourselves. The Temeraire is beautiful because it is leaving. The tug is disturbing because it is arriving. And Turner refuses to tell us which one deserves our loyalty. He lets us feel grief and fascination at the same time. In the end, perhaps the real mystery is not why Turner changed the facts. It is why his altered version feels more truthful than reality. The real ship may have looked less grand. The real towing may have been less poetic. The real sky may not have burned like this. But Turner painted not the event as it happened. He painted the event as it felt. The Fighting Temeraire is not just the portrait of a ship. It is the image of a world being pulled away. Quietly, beautifully, irreversibly. And now I want to ask you, do you see this painting as a farewell to a lost heroic age, or as Turner's uneasy tribute to the modern world? And which detail changes the meaning most for you? The ghostly ship, the black tug, the irascible sunset, or the tiny crescent moon?